Hello, I'm Thomas Tulloch, and this is Filmmakering Like a Boss.
Hello? Katie, is that you? Hello?
REDRUM.
Someone there?
Help me.
I can hear you whispering.
REDRUM.
That was a clip from my most recent short film, REDRUM. If you'd like to see the whole short film, there's a link in the place where links generally are. In this video, I'm going to be explaining how I achieved that reverse reverb effect on the voice of the ghost in that short film. On the difficulty meter, I'm going to say this is medium. It's a little bit in-depth, a little bit complicated, not super complicated, but it's more than just slapping a filter on. I'm going to show you how to do it right now, though. I believe it can be done in most any editing software. I'm going to be doing it in Premiere. Okay, here I have the project file for that short film. This is my main sequence here. I'm going to go over to my sync sequence, and I have here selected a clip from the film, which if you haven't seen the film yet, go watch it before you watch this, because this is going to be a spoiler. But I don't know, maybe you don't care about spoilers. That's not what's important here. And we're going to put an in point right at the beginning of this clip. In point there. And we're going to put an out point right at the end of the audio of the clip. Out point there. And I've got loop on. I'm going to take loop off. And here is the unedited raw clip of the ghost when he introduces himself to the girl.
Never take me alive.
Action.
REDRUM! REDRUM! What? No, I'm just looking for the cherry flavored rum. Have you got any? Oh man, that sucks. And I'm not much of a wine guy, but alright.
And that's basically it. So this is the clip that we're going to be working with. The first thing you're going to want to do is take the audio, which in this case, my audio was recorded separately and then synced up. I already synced it up. I'll do another video where I explain how to sync it up. But in this case, we're past all that. So I can just take the audio clip. If you needed to do, if you recorded your video and audio together, then you would want to lock the channel with your video on it, so you can only affect the audio. In this case, I don't need to worry about that because it is separate. So I'm going to select my audio channel. I'm using a Mac, so I'm going to hit Control, hold down Control, and click on the audio file. And I get this window pop up, and I'm going to click on Speed and Duration. And then right here, I'm going to click Reverse Speed. So now that audio clip will play backwards. Let that render. And course, it's not gonna be synced up now because it's playing backward, but which backwards is creepy enough without the reverb on it. But let me say that again. Backwards is creepy enough without the reverb on it. I'm competing with my own video clip. Okay, so you get the point. We got backward audio on here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to Effects. We're going to go to Audio Effects, and we're going to find Reverb. Matrix Reverb. That one will do fine. And we're going to put it on our audio clip here. Okay, here's our reverb. Let's hear how the reverb sounds with render. Now the tail of that reverb is going to be the pre-verb when we put it all back together. So at this point you might want to play with your individual settings and play with it, but to get it how much rising up pre-verb you're going to want to have. In this case, I'm just going to leave it with the current factory default settings because I'm just showing you how to do it. Side note, the makeup artist did a really good job on the makeup for the ghost, and I wish that we could have shown more of it in the film, but in order to get the ghostly effect, we ended up seeing a little bit less of the actual makeup. But that makeup job did take a couple of hours, and he looked really gory, but you don't end up seeing it as well in the final product because of all the processing that had to go into it. But I'm still glad, because look at that looks cool. Anyways, that's a side note that's unrelated to anything. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we've got the audio playing backward with reverb on it. We're going to go ahead and export that. Export media. Okay, and I'm going to call it backward audio. And I'm just going to put it on my desktop. You can put it wherever you want. It doesn't really matter. Preset I'm just going to use that preset because the important thing here is the audio, and I'm just going to use the settings for that preset for the audio, and I'm going to go ahead and export. This is going to take a minute, so I'm going to fast forward. Okay, and it's done, so I'm going to minimize this real quick. This should be it right here, but I'm just going to make sure that it is. Again, the audio is not going to be in sync because the audio is playing backwards. We're not concerned about the video. Sounds about right. Sounds like what it should be. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to take this backward audio and I'm going to drop it in the project file. I'm going to re-import it into the project file. Ordinarily, I would have put it into a folder, but in this case, I'm not going to worry about organization because I'm just showing you how to do this specific thing. Okay, so it's right here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that my V1, my video input is unclicked and my audio input is clicked, so that when I import this, when I put this onto my timeline, I'm just taking the audio, I'm not taking the video. If I click that, then I will have audio and video. If I click that, I just have video. I want to click that so I have the audio. I want to unclick that so I have just the audio, not the video. Then I'm going to take the backward audio and I'm going to put it in line And now, because both files are backward, you can see that should be pretty well lined up right there. But what we want to do, now that we have a plane going overhead, sorry about that, now that we have the original audio that is backward, and we have re-imported an audio file with reverb on it that is also backwards, we're going to turn both of these forwards now. So what I'm going to do, this clip that we just imported is technically playing forward, but the audio is backward. So by holding Control and clicking on it, we get this window again. We go to speed and duration, and now we're going to turn it backward by hitting reverse speed. Now, since it was technically going forward, and now we're turning it backward, which means the audio that's in it was backward and it's being turned forward. So reverse speed on that, and then let's reverse. Let's let's undo the reverse on the original track so it goes back forward. So now we have the dry audio track, and we have a reverb audio track with pre-verb. Let's hear how this sounds. That's got to render. Okay, so you can hear you've got that pre-verb going. The problem, though, is that you can't really understand what's being said. So I'm going to come up here to the mixer, and I'm going to, the volume of the wet channel should be mixed down a little bit. The volume of the dry channel should be mixed up a little bit. I'm going to mix it, play with it until we get it sounding good. Okay, let's bring the... Oh wait, also the dry channel, the original, you want to take off the reverb that you had put on. We don't need it there anymore. On the original, there's nothing you can do about the reverb that's on the reverse channel, because on the wet channel, because that reverb has now been embedded into the audio. So you're going to leave that be. Technically, it'll still be dry. You're not adding any effects on it because the effects that were added have now been permanently added to it. That's why you want to, adjust the reverb before you get to this point. But so I've got this dry channel now. I took off the reverb, so it really is dry. And then I'm going to mix it in with the pre-verb channel. Here's the mixer. Let's hear how this sounds, because you want to be able to understand what's being said.
REDRUM! REDRUM!
There you go. That sounds much better.
What? No, I'm just looking for the cherry flavored rum. Have you got any?
I'm going to go ahead and take the wet channel and bring it down just a little bit more to about there. It's gonna try to render the audio every time you play it.
REDRUM! REDRUM! What? No, I'm just looking for the cherry flavored rum. Have you got any?
Now, at this point, you can go in and do some other audio processing, like you can play with the EQ, you can do some dynamics, some compressors, whatever you're going to do to the audio to make it sound good. I'm not going to worry about that. I just wanted to show you how to do the pre-verb, the reverse reverb effect. The most important part of it, though, is that you can understand what's being said. And anything after that, from this point, now it's all just, creative decision making, creative licensing. So what I did in REDRUM is I added a third channel of audio. I took the dry channel and I copied it, so I have another channel of dry audio, and on that channel I added another effect. I went over here to effects and I found, it's going to be pitch shifter. Now you can play around with whatever effects your editing software has. I don't know if your editing software has this effect, but I'm going to use this effect because my Premiere has it. You could be done at this point, or you can do whatever else you're going to do. He's a ghost. It's a little abstract. I'm going to add some pitch shift to it. So I'm going to take the pitch shifter. I'm going to drop it on the second dry. So now I have one that's dry, one with the reverse reverb, and one that's pitch shifted with no reverb. The pitch shifted one, I'm going to come up here to the controls, click on edit those controls. I'm going to click one of the default settings. There's 4 default settings here. The one that I clicked is Angry Gerbil, which I love that name. But just to show you what we're dealing with here, let's go through all of them. Dark Lord. Let's solo out this channel. Let's listen to what the Dark Lord one sounds like. Now, I almost picked this one because by itself it obviously doesn't sound good, but if you unsolo it and listen to it in the mix, it sounds creepy.
REDRUM! REDRUM! What? No, I'm just looking for the cherry flavored rum. Have you got any?
Remember, the legibility of the audio, the clarity of the audio is mainly coming from the first channel that is dry. But I didn't like that one as much. When you've got other ones here, we can go to stretch. That doesn't sound as good, but it still works. Let's listen to it solo for a sec. Similar. Still can't understand him, but when you put it in with the mix, we have. That could have worked.
What? No, I'm just looking for the cherry flavored rum. Have you got any?
That could have worked. But we have other options. Deathly Ill, that one just kind of lowers it from its original just ever so slightly. Let's solo.
REDRUM! REDRUM! What? No, I'm just looking for the cherry flavored rum. Have you got any?
Just makes him sound like he's sick. But the one that I went with, which added a whole extra level, was called Angry Gerbil. So that one by itself, here's what that sounds like.
REDRUM! REDRUM! What? No, I'm just looking for the cherry flavored rum. Have you got any?
And now if we unsolo it so we can hear all 3 channels.
REDRUM! REDRUM!
What?
No, I'm just looking for the cherry flavored rum. Have you got any?
And there you go. With some pre-verb, reverse reverb on there, and a 3rd channel of what I call a pitch shifter. The main thing to remember though is in your mix you want to bring out the wet channel, or the dry channel, because that's where the clarity of the audio is primarily coming from. The rest is all flavor. The rest mix into the background a little bit more. Play with the mix, get it to where you like it sounding right, but definitely make sure that it's clear and can be understood. You don't want just wet, noises everywhere. I mean, unless that's what you're going for, but the more you put of the wet, the more in the mix you have of the reverse reverb, the less you're going to be able to understand. Case in point. See, it starts getting harder and harder to understand. But there you go. Play with that a little bit. Figure out how it works for your story. Because remember, don't just do it for the sake of doing it. Do it to help with your story. It helps this story because he's a ghost. He's speaking to her from the beyond. I did a whole bunch of other stuff to him to make him look all ghostly, to fit with the audio. But again, watch the short film and see for yourself what exactly I did, why you can't see the effects makeup on it as well as you can here. This is before I did any of the editing for the video. This is just the raw clip. But there you go. There's the pre-verb audio. And don't forget to subscribe so you can follow along on the next episode of Filmmakering Like a Boss.